Reading and Leeds Festival 2025 is officially over. We were both at Leeds Festival, saw loads of different artists. Tim, who do you want to speak about first?
Let's start things off with the Friday night headliner, Travis Scott. He went off maybe about 30, 40 minutes earlier than he was supposed to, and I think it was a very big shock to a lot of people. I've never seen a crowd actively boo a headline act as much as I saw at Reading and Leeds.
Travis Scott was atrocious at Leeds Festival. Not only did he come off stage 40 minutes early, but his performance in itself was pretty much fueled by pyro. You could barely even hear his auto-tuned voice over the sound of the instrumentals. And yeah, it looked like in the front section of the crowd there was a lot of energy, but where we were, which was the kind of middle section of the crowd, there was barely anyone there. That was genuinely one of the emptiest I've ever seen the main stage for a headliner at Leeds Festival. I think there was more people for the Kooks the next day, which absolutely baffled me.
Like, don't get me wrong, it was a very energetic performance, and like you're saying, there was pyro, there was fireworks, there was everything you could want from a headliner set, but to cut it as short as it was feels a bit mean, especially if you're a fan of them. But talking about the crowd itself, even D Block Europe, who were the sub-headliner, there was even less people for them. Like, I didn't think I've ever seen it that quiet at that time of night. We came in later on in the day and we genuinely thought that maybe we'd come on the wrong day or something because it didn't seem like there's only one there. I think also the main arena was a lot smaller this year as well. It seemed like the stage had been brought forward, so I don't know if they were aware that there was lower ticket sales or something, but the energy just felt off for some reason.
Yeah, a lot of people would have travelled from Scotland, from around the UK, paid, I think it's about 140, 150 quid for a day ticket to see Travis Scott, and to leave stage that early, not explain it, no explanation from Leeds Festival themselves, I think is a bit of an insult. And I wonder why they would, I don't think they will, why they would book a headliner like that again, because I've seen it before. We saw 21 Savage last year or the year before, where he went, pretty much the entire set without doing anything. It was just his DJ, barely even came on stage, did a couple half songs and then left. This year, a man who actually showed up has been known for not showing up before in Trippie Redd. We've seen it with Migos before, where they've come on about 40 minutes late and done 3 songs. It just feels to me there's a bit of trend with these American rappers maybe not appreciating how special Reading and Leeds is to the UK crowds, because when I've seen Dave, Stormzy, etc. headline, they put a lot more effort and personality into it.
I don't think it's so much that they don't respect Reading and Leeds as a festival. I think it's so much that that's just how they operate, because it seems like it's across the globe that they do this at, where they kind of decide when they're going to come out. They decide they want to do 1 or 2 songs, and they decide to leave after that. And I've seen a lot of people coping, a lot of Travis Scott fans really coping and saying stuff like, his riser wasn't working, the thing that lifts him up and down, and that's why he had to go off stage and cut his set short, which, if that is the truth, that is the most pathetic excuse to cut a set 40 minutes short that I've ever heard in my entire life. Other people saying that he had his arm in pyro and it got set on fire, and that's the reason he went off stage, but he managed to finish the song, and you think if his arm was that bad and he'd actually been set on fire, it would have ended then and there. It wouldn't have carried on for him to go, oh, my arm hurts, I'm going to go off now. All of the reasons that I've heard for him going off have been very things that you wouldn't expect to affect an act, because you can compare them to like really large bands and things will go wrong there. We've seen it before. We've seen technical difficulties, guitars cutting out, microphones cutting out, all these sorts of things, and that's never stopped an act from completing their performance. The other thing is that Travis Scott performed it was Fiend into Sicko Mode about half an hour into his set, which at that point, it kind of became, oh, aren't these his biggest tracks? Like, what's going to come next? And I think he did Goosebumps, and then he did one of the tracks that he did at the beginning again, and went, I really enjoyed how the energy was for that track, I'm going to do it one more time, and then went off. So it was definitely premeditated that he wasn't going to have that long of a set, because he wouldn't have come out with the bangers that early on if he was going to continue.
My last point on this, let's stop justifying artists treating fans like shit. I said it last year for Lana Del Rey. Admittedly, she wasn't actually late at Leeds Festival, but more so when we were talking about her other gigs at Glastonbury, etc. It doesn't just apply to Travis Scott. Artists need to show up when fans are spending so much money. But let's move away from the negativity. Let's talk a little bit about the Saturday, because there was a headliner on the Saturday in Chappell Roan that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't listen to her music on a regular basis, but she put in a headliner-worthy performance.
All I know is Hot to Go and Pink Pony Club, both of which she performed, both of which went absolutely insane with the crowd. The entire show, though, I was fully engaged. The stage setup was amazing. The way that she moved around, the live band that she had were really, really good. I thought the sound was great, and she is a fantastic vocalist. Like, I didn't know how good she was of a singer until I saw her live, and now I have this whole newfound respect for Chappell Roan, and I completely understand why she has so many fans now.
Yeah, when she got announced as a headliner, I was a little bit confused because obviously she's a massive star and she's kind of blown up in the last year or two. I think she's only still got one studio album out, which is crazy to already be at headliner level. But after watching that performance, I completely get it. And yeah, I'm not going to go listen to her all the time. I might listen to her a little bit more in my spare time now. But if she was at a festival, I would always go see her because I think, wow, there's so much effort that's been put in.
Speaking of the Saturday, we went to see Soft Play on the second stage, and they put in an amazing performance. But I would argue that they should have been moved to the Sunday, the more alternative day, because it felt like they were rather out of place. The crowd didn't seem quite like the right people to be receptive enough. But as per, they put on a fantastic show, and I expected nothing less, to be honest. Those boys smash it every time.
Well, I think on the day splits, Leeds Festival were very clearly going for more day ticket sales this year. Obviously, that didn't work on the Travis Scott day. It was very empty. I would say the emptiest I've ever seen the festival. I think the Saturday was the busiest, and that really seemed like it was for Chappell Roan. I'm not sure on how Hosier was received or if that crowd was massive because I didn't stick around to see him. I'm really not a big fan. And then on the Sunday, Tim, you were there, I wasn't, so tell me, what was the crowd like on the Sunday?
I would say the crowd was a mixture in size between the Friday and the Saturday, so there was still a lot of people there. It was quite packed out for the sub-headliner and the headliner, so you had Limp Bizkit in To Bring Me. Both of those, the crowd's absolutely crazy. Everybody was really engaged. Everybody was loving it. But walking through the crowd on the Sunday genuinely felt like I was at Download Festival. Just a sea of black, just alternative people everywhere, you know, crazy hair colours, crazy boots, crazy everything. I was there for it because that's my favourite genre of music, one of. And it just felt very strange that Leeds Fest have kind of gone, shall we try something different this year? Because we've tried to appeal to the younger demographics and maybe they've realised the ticket sales aren't as good. So then this year it really felt like they've gone, right, we'll get all of the alternative bands, we'll put them on one day and we'll see what happens. Speaking of ticket sales for days, I'm kind of hoping that that really lackluster show out for the Friday kind of tells Reading and Leeds that maybe rap days of, you know, American artists and all these kind of mumble rappers, let's call them SoundCloud rappers. That's not in a derogatory way. I do like some of them. Maybe that just isn't what people want now. Maybe that will be the kind of thing that makes them realize maybe we shouldn't be booking these American rapper headliners. Maybe we shouldn't have a full day dedicated to them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really hope that next year we see Leeds Festival go in a more rock-focused manner. I also think the vibe and the energy in the crowd is a lot better on those days. Not to be disrespectful, but walking around Leeds Fest on the Friday, I felt so out of place. I'm 25, just turned 25, and I felt like I didn't particularly want to be there because there was just so many children. And I get Reading and Leeds is always going to pull in that demographic. But I think it would still pull in that demographic if they were more band focused. There's plenty of massive bands that a lot of the younger generation like. We've seen it in the last couple of years when they've had Sam Fender and The Killers and multiple more. Even this weekend, Limp Bizkit had an absolutely huge crowd at both sites, at Reading and Leeds. And a lot of those younger people would have gone to see them. They're still very much in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, speaking of the Sunday and the alternative kind of things, They did a really good job of lining up artists in a way that made sense. So you had, like I'm saying, they kind of forced them all onto one day, which we've seen in previous years. They put Spirit Box on a day with pop punk and they tried this, that and the other, and they tried to kind of meld them together. Don't think it really worked. One of the standout acts for me on Sunday was Bill Murray, who was unfortunately in a tent, but I felt like it was perfect for them because it meant that the people that were there to see them were there to see them. You didn't have any of these people that were stood at the barrier waiting for Bring Me or, you know, just camping out all day. And the reception in that tent was insane. I've never heard so many people singing back the lyrics to songs in my life. And I really didn't expect it for Bill Murray because they're not exactly a huge act, but they are very well respected in that community. So to have them on the day with the main stage being how it was made perfect sense. And I really, really hope that Bill Murray come back again.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Bill Murray, but I am yet to see him. So hopefully one day I'll get a chance to catch him. Another act I just wanted to give a quick mention to is Sammy Vergy, who we saw on the Friday before Travis Scott. And I think he is incredible. I know he's already growing massively. He's not exactly unknown. He was headlining the Chevron stage, which says a lot. But he's the type of act, similar to Fred again, who I compared him to in that moment. Although they're very different in terms of their live show, I could see Sammy, if he continues to grow in the way that he is, going on to headline the festival at some point. And I think that out of everyone I saw across the weekend, he was probably the one that impressed me the most and surprised me, because the samples that he uses in his songs, the energy he brought. But then one thing that I did see that annoyed me was the fact that in Reading, he brought out Skepta. In Leeds, he brought out no one. And I appreciate a lot of these acts that are brought out as special guests probably live in London, which is why they're willing to do Reading. But I just feel like it's got to the point now, every single year, Reading gets way better surprise acts and way better people being brought out. When I say surprise acts, I mean secret sets. Reading gets way better secret sets and way better surprises. I just think it's the same price.
I get it, though. It's a much bigger festival. It's closer to London. It's easy for people to get to. You know, if they're bringing in somebody from America or something, they can fly to Heathrow and then they're there. You know what I mean? It's not that far away. Getting up to Leeds is a pain in the arse, so I completely understand why they wouldn't want to do that. And also in terms of ticket sales, the crowd, everything like that, Reading is definitely the bigger festival.
But there's no debate there should be a same level of secret set then.
Well, no.
That Reading and Leeds are
secret
booking.
set, fair enough. But people coming out, I get why they would only do Reading, and they just can't be arsed going up to Leeds.
It's just annoying to see, though, isn't it? It's just stressful.
I get that, yeah. No, I do get your pain, because also I can't see them either. But in my head, I justify it because I'm like, that's the bigger festival, really.
Yeah. Well, the thing I want to end this on, it felt like Leeds Festival was in a bit of a transition this year, changing over, kind of testing what type of act they wanted to focus on. Let us know in the comments what type of act you'd like to see at Leeds Festival next year. I'm sure we'll do a prediction video at some point, so hit like and subscribe for that.
Thank you very much for watching.